talking about your identity, and I know it can be kind of abstract because identity it's kind of a big concept, and how do you come up with that? And it's a big deal. But I kind of wanted to share a story with you. Most of you already know this. Most of you, if you're from Hope Fellowship, you kind of already know my story. I shared it with you at our high school retreat. But you know I'm adopted, and I have a sister who is 11 months younger than I am. So we're 11 months apart. We were born within 1 year of each other. So for 1 month every year, we're the same age, very close in age. I couldn't imagine having two babies under one like that. It was weird. So we get adopted together with our little brother. We were all adopted together, and we start growing up. And when you have two kids that close in age, like my sister and I, we were always kind of the same size. And we look different, like she has red hair and green eyes, but we were like always the same size, and people thought we were twins because we were the same size. Until we hit about like fifth grade, I was sixth grade, she was fifth grade, and she suddenly got like taller than me. And she was always a little bit smarter than me. She just was like, it seemed like she grew up first. And it took me a full 2 years before I had a growth spurt. So here I am. She's like 11, I'm 12. She shoots up. I don't even start to grow until I hit 13, and then I finally am like starting to catch up with her. To the point that, so we had no baby pictures of us, none. We didn't, the only pictures, like the earliest pictures we had of us when I was growing up as a kid were like after we were adopted. So I was like 6 when I started, those were the youngest pictures I had of me. And so you guys are gonna think this is so stupid, and I don't know if I've already mentioned this. I know some of you know this, but it's so dumb now when I think about it. But we thought, oh my gosh, they got us mixed up in the adoption. Like, I'm the older one, I'm the oldest, but because she grew up, we were like, you're the oldest, and I'm the youngest, and they mixed us up. They had no idea because we're the same size. Because apparently everybody, all the adults around us, we thought were that stupid that they couldn't keep us straight. But we really truly thought oh my gosh, okay, so are our names really Stephanie and Ashley? Is that really it? Or are you Stephanie and I'm Ashley? Or is it are those even our names at all? Are you, am I the one that's this age and you're this age? That's why you're smarter than me. To me, I was like, finally, I'm not just an idiot. That's why she's older than me. And we really firmly believe that. And then when I was 15, my sister was 14, I was having to go get a new social security card and trying to get my learner's permit. And so we didn't have any of that stuff. We had some of it. The system was kind of messed up back then. But so we had to start contacting people from the adoption agency to get different things. And they contacted a family member that we had lived with at one of our interim places in between. And he was like, yes, I have some of these things, and I will also send pictures. So one day when I'm 15, we get this huge envelope in the mail, and we open it up, and it's pictures. It's baby pictures and toddler pictures. It's pictures of me from before. And we pull out my sister and I are like, oh my gosh, baby pictures, I cannot, what's this gonna be? So we start pulling out the photos, and of course, there's me with white blonde hair, and I'm probably 12 months old, about a year, and then there's this brand new infant with orange hair, which is my sister, and I was like, okay, they didn't mix us up. They were right, okay, I guess, and then we look at it now and we're like, oh, can you believe we actually thought that? But for real, guys, I, for so long, literally did not know who I was. It's the one thing to be I don't know who I am anymore. But I literally was who am I? I don't know. I could be her. I could be me. I don't know. And so it led to an existential crisis, truly, to the deepest core, legitimately. And so, but as I got older, and as everybody does, you start to try to figure out, no matter, even if you know who you are, even if you don't think you got mixed up or switched at birth or anything like that, even if you've grown up and you look just like your mom and you know that you're the firstborn or whatever, we all are trying to figure out who we are. Everybody does it. I did it. You guys are doing it. I have a 12-year-old daughter who is here at middle school camp. She's doing it. I know she is because she's telling me, I'm just trying to figure out who I am. And I'm like, okay, maybe I get it. So what we do, how do we figure that out? Because here's what your identity is. I'm going to tell you the definition of it. Identity is the character of a person, the qualities and beliefs that distinguish or identify a person. It's also the condition of being oneself and not another. So your identity is it's the character of you. It's what makes you you. And it's hard to figure that out. Like, it's hard to say, like, I don't know what that is. And so when we're growing up, we just kind of take, like, oh, is that what you think I am? Okay, cool. I'll take that, and I'll put that in my little package, and that's part of who I am. And we look at our circumstances around us, and we're like, okay, well, I'm poor, so I'm a poor kid, or I'm rich, so I'm a rich kid, or I'm smart, so I'm a smart kid. And those are our circumstances, and then we start to identify ourselves by our circumstances, and we start to identify ourselves by things people say. So I was 6 years old, got adopted. I had to go to Kinderboost. Kinderboost is where they send kids that should be going to kindergarten, but they don't know the days of the week. And so that was me. I went to Kinderboost, and so I didn't think I was very smart, but people were nice to me because they were like, oh, she's a rescue. My kids watch Hope for Paws. Has anybody watched those videos on YouTube? Hope for Paws? No hope. You guys are all going to be trying to watch Hope for Paws 1. So basically, Hope for Paws, they go out and they rescue puppies off the street and dogs who are like injured, or they they've been on the street for a long time, or their owners left them, and it is the saddest thing, and they're scared and they're skittish, and like they won't come to you, or they're angry and they bite you when you get near them, or they're just like starved for affection, so they run up to you. And so each one is different. And then they take them and they go and they get them, they give them a bath, and they clean them up, and they get them medical help. And then you're like crying, and you're like, oh my gosh, they rescued this puppy, it has a chance, and they're gonna give it another life. And then they like, if you wanna adopt this dog, call Hope for Paws, blah, 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 blah. Donate $5, whatever. And so you're bawling by the end, and then they show like the puppy now, like in its new home, and you're like, I love that puppy. That was me. I was the puppy. How I feel about those dogs is how like my teachers and everybody around me felt about me. And I knew it. I was like, yeah, I was a street dog, and now I'm all cleaned up. And no, but not like in a bad way. It was like, I knew. I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm okay with it. So like, there was a part of me growing up that I was like, am I getting good grades because I'm actually getting good grades? Because I didn't think I was very smart before, but now I'm getting good grades. Or do you feel bad for me? And so I thought like maybe that's part of my identity, is that I get stuff because people feel bad for me. And I didn't like that part of me, so I tried to earn it. I was like, no, I don't want you to give something to me. I'm going to earn it. So that was part of my identity. I'm going to earn everything I get. I'm going to be a hard worker. I'm going to show them that I deserve what I get, and not just that you feel sorry for me. So I started as I grew up, like, okay, what else? What else? What else makes me me? And I listened to the people around me. I listened to my friends, and I listened to my parents, and I listened to my parents' friends, and I listened to my pastors. And I started learning, okay, this is who I am. I'm pretty. I'm bossy. I've got a big ego, but I'm fragile. I'm a prude, and I'm a slut, depending on who you ask. This is who I am. This is all part of me. I'm really outgoing and friendly, but I'm emotionally distant when you try to get to know me. And these are the things I collected, and this is me, okay? That's my identity, that's who I am. I took the things that people said, and then I made that me, and I took the things I wanted people to say. Okay, now what do I want them to say about me? And I'm gonna build my identity on that too. So what they said and what I wanted them to say. And that's how I built myself. And I think that's how a lot of us build ourselves. That's how we figure out who we are. That's how we define ourselves. And it takes me, I'm going to tell you a story, true story in the Bible, written by John, who was a friend of Jesus, knew him well, walked with him, saw the things he did. And the story is in John 8. And I'm going to set you up for this, because what was going on is, Jesus was like in town now. He's like around. He's making himself known. And he's saying like, okay, all these people who are like the leaders of everything, and they have status and they're well respected. Okay, I'm coming, and when what everything that I'm saying is gonna take away their status because it's not as important anymore. Like the things that they think you have to do, like I'm telling you that it's about love now. And so these guys were super upset with him because they're like, no, you can't just come in here and take away everything that we've worked so hard for. So they're trying to get him in trouble. And so it picks up in John 8. Early in the morning, Jesus came again to the temple. All the people came to him, and he sat down and taught them. I'm really sorry. Can I get a cup of water, please? That's not in the Bible. That's just me asking her because I'm like, my throat's hurting because I screamed at middle school camp. I'm a screamer at middle school camp for cheers. Okay, anyway, all the people came to him, and he sat down and taught them. The scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in adultery. Thank you so much. Marah, everybody. Okay, teacher, this woman has been caught in the act of adultery. Well, that was embarrassing. I spilled all over myself in front of everybody. This woman has been caught in the act of adultery. Now in the law, Moses commanded us to stone such a woman. What do you say? So they bring him. They're trying to get him caught. They're trying to make it seem like, okay, we're going to take away all of his power because we're going to get him in trouble because this is the law. And he's going to tell us, no, don't throw a stone because they know him and he's like a nice guy. And he's like, no, don't kill this woman. And they know he's going to do that. So they're trying to trick him. And they said this to test him, that they might have some charge to bring against him. And Jesus bent down and wrote with his finger in the ground. And as they continued to ask him, he stood up and said to them, let him who is without sin be the first among you, be the first to cast the first, let the first among you without sin be the first to cast a stone at her. So did he tell them not to throw a stone? No, he's like, yeah, go ahead. If you don't have sin, go ahead and throw a stone at her. And once more he bent down and wrote on the ground. And when they heard that, they went away one by one, beginning with the older ones. And Jesus was left alone with the woman standing before him. Jesus stood up and said to her, woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? She said, no one, Lord. And Jesus said, neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on sin no more. So I want to talk to you about the three main pieces of this. And that's the woman, the accused. She was accused, so there's the accused. There's the crowd, and there's Jesus. All right, so we're going to start with the accused. She was accused. She was caught in the act of adultery. Now, do you guys know what that means? Like they walked in, and she was in the act of adultery. She was actively committing adultery. I hope you understand what I'm saying right? Yeah. That would be super embarrassing. Like that would be probably the worst moment of somebody's life. I can imagine that she was humiliated, caught in the act, and then brought before Jesus, who, I mean, he's it'd be like if you got caught in the act of adultery and they took you to John McKenzie and they were like, or like Billy Graham. And they were like, look at what they were doing. It was terrible. He was like Jesus. And so I can imagine that was the most humiliating moment of her life in that moment, to be caught in the act and brought before it and then said, whoa, look at what she did. This is who she is. She's an adulterer. That is who she is. That would be terrible. But I think about her and I think about what is her story? Did she have parents that loved her? Did she have people her whole life telling her who she was, good or bad? What was the journey that took her to that moment? Like what was her life like up to that moment? Because that was a defining moment in her life. She was brought before Jesus, caught in the act of adultery. I think when we hear that story, everybody can relate to the accused. We all can say, yeah, like people tell me who I am. Like they say, you did this bad thing, you are this. You lied, you're a liar. You committed adultery, you're an adulterer. You stole, you're a thief. You had sex with your boyfriend, you're whatever you think you are. We all can identify that. We all can. I think we all have this, like, we listen to people around us telling us, this is what you did, so this is who you are. That was a defining moment for her. We've all had moments when the shouts of the crowd sound like the truth, and we let them define who we are. We identify. I think we identify with this person. We've been the accused. Next is the crowd. Have you ever been with somebody who they're like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe she blah, 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 blah. I can't believe he was blah, 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 blah. And all the while you're like, you did something way worse. Like, who are you to say anything about that? That is the crowd. They were not innocent people. The thing is, Jesus told them to throw a stone. They wanted to catch him in a lie, and they're like, oh, he's gonna say, don't throw the stone. And Jesus is like, no, go ahead. Like, if any of you are without sin, throw the stone. You can't like trick the creator of the universe. Just FYI, if any of you have ever tried. It's not possible. Jesus told them, if you're perfect and you don't have any sin, go ahead and throw a stone, but no one did. And I wonder why. I think it's because they knew who Jesus was. They knew that he was standing there. They knew he had turned water into wine. They knew he had healed the blind. They knew he had forgiven sins. He had cast out demons. They knew who he was. And they were afraid that if they were to cast that stone and say, I'm perfect, that he would turn around and say, you've lied. You've cheated. You're an adulterer. He knew. They knew, and they were afraid. And so they dropped their rocks and they walked away. I think maybe they were relieved, like, oh, we have an out right now. Like, thank you, Jesus, for saying, like, because if we had all just done it, and maybe he would have, like, pointed us all out. But they had an out. He's like, hey, go ahead. I'm surprised. I wish they would have stayed to see what he did next. But they walked away because they were afraid. And they knew, like, if he calls us out, we lose our status. If he calls us out, we lose our standing in this society. So we're going to walk away and act like this never happened. But so as we all identify with the accused and being accused, I think we also all identify, whether you like it or not, with the crowd. We all have picked up a rock at some point or another, and we've all picked up a rock with a different reason. We've tried to defend our status. Well, I'm better than that, so I'm going to pick up this rock. I'm better than that. At least I didn't do what they did. Sometimes we're holding a rock, trying to distract people from the mess or the brokenness in our own lives. We're holding it and saying, like, well, if I can draw attention to what they did, or if I can draw attention to who they are, if I can label them, then nobody will see what's going on with me. You're holding a rock, trying to hide. Or we're holding a rock, trying to convince ourselves we're doing the right thing. They're like, the law of Moses says this is what you do. And so we start to identify somebody and say, well, I think we need to pray for this person because she is a liar. I think we need to pray for him because he is a cheater. Like, those are, like, what they're doing is wrong. But we're holding a rock saying, like, well, we mask it. And we think we're doing the right thing. We try to make it seem like we're doing the right thing. We grab all these rocks, and we make a little collection, and we hold on to them. And we think, when the moment is right, and when I need it the most, I can pick up a rock. So that if they come for me, I can be like, oh no, look at all these rocks. Like, I'm one of you guys. I'm ready to throw rocks with you. Instead of, don't come for me, I'm right there with you. I've got all these rocks. Have you guys ever had like a full argument in your head where you win every time? Because you like have all these great comebacks. That's part of the rock collection, if you didn't know, because I do that. Sometimes I have an extensive rock collection, and I'm like, I need to get rid of these. We can identify with these people. We've been the accusers who have had no business holding a rock. And the final person in this story is Jesus. If there was anyone standing there who could have said, today is the day you die because of what you did, it was Jesus. If there was anyone who had the right to say whether she lived or whether she died or whether she was free to go or whether she had to stay, it was Jesus, because he was the only one who was sinless. He was the only one who was perfect. He was the only one who said, I don't have any rocks. He was the only one who could have. Nobody else. And even today, nobody else has the right to say who gets to live and who gets to die, or who gets to have forgiveness and who doesn't. It's just Jesus. He didn't have a rock in his hand, nothing hateful to say. We cannot relate. We cannot relate to that. He called out everything going on. He called out the crowd. He called out the woman. He knew what she had done. He didn't say like, well, that's okay. It's okay that you do that. He knew what she had done. He knew what the crowd has done. But he said to her, the thing that brought you here is not who you are. Go and sin no more. They don't condemn you. I don't condemn you. They don't condemn you because they can't, because they too will be condemned. But I don't condemn you because I love you. And I'm telling you, you can go out of here and not be the same person. That was her thing. Like, I wonder if she felt like, I don't have a choice. This is who I am. I have to keep doing this because maybe I have to, maybe she was being with these men because she didn't have like any other way. Like that was where she lived. That was where she got her food. Maybe she felt like she had to do it until Jesus came in the picture and he said, you don't have to do that. I don't condemn you. Go and sin no more. And that sin no more wasn't like, now don't you mess up again. It was like, you do not have to do that anymore. You are not that thing. So the band's going to come out. And I'm going to ask you, we're going to talk just for a minute more, and then we're going to sing a song, and then we're going to pray. So, are you like the accused? Where are you getting your identity? Where are you getting it from? Are you getting it from the people around you? Are you taking your identity from the things that people are saying who you are? That moment was defining for her because it was the most humiliating moment of her life. I would imagine. But it was also the most beautiful moment of her life because he gave her a purpose. He gave her a calling. He gave her something to do, and he gave her a new identity. He said, go from now on and sin no more. He was saying to you, that's not you anymore. I'm the only one who can say. I'm the only one who can judge. I'm the only one who's perfect. And the thing that brought you here is not who you are. The thing that brought you here is not what you have to leave with. You are not defined by what brought you to this moment. He gave her a new life, and he took away the label she had. Are you like the crowd? Are you finding your identity as one of the group? Are you building your identity on something that you're trying to hide? Are you building your identity on something you're trying to achieve? Are you building your identity on trying to fit in with a certain part of the crowd? I've been in the crowd a lot of times. And I can tell you that the best thing to do if you are part of the crowd, here's what I've learned. Yes, you have that stone, and Jesus says, are you perfect? And you say no, and you drop it. But don't do like they did and turn and walk away. Stay right there, because Jesus did something incredible in that woman. And they walked away and they missed it because they were still trying to protect something. They went back to their pile of rocks that they had stored up at their house. Drop the rock and get down in the dirt. Get down in the dirt with her, because that's when Jesus knelt down and he met her there. And if you want to meet Jesus and you are part of that crowd, you're building your identity on something. You're building your identity on something you're hiding or something you want. Drop the rock, but don't walk away. Get down in the dirt. Put it all on the table. Let Jesus see your mess. Let him see your pain. Put your sin on display. Be humiliated for a moment. And let the noise of the crowd as they walk away fade out as Jesus says, what brought you here to this moment is not who you are. Are you finding your identity in Jesus? We're going to sing a song, and then we're going to pray. So I want you to stand up. As we sing this song, I really want you to think about who am I? We're going to think about who am I for 5 minutes. It's a big thing. We're not going to cover it today. You're not going to figure it out in this moment. Maybe you will. Maybe it'll be revealed to you in this moment. But I do want you to think about who have I felt like I've been? Who have people told me I am? What have I built this on? And I want you to say, from this moment, I'm gonna let Jesus tell me who I am. And then I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna pray with you guys before we go into small groups.